I beat the shit out of my sister and sent her to the hospital. Trigger warning. This post talks about SA and rape. English is not my first language, so I apologize ahead of time. I, 26 male, beat the shit out of my sister, 23 female, for sexually harassing my boyfriend, 25 male. I can finally talk about this because all the legal proceedings have been dealt with. So I've been dating my boyfriend, Mark, for about 5 years. He's the best thing that has ever happened to me. He's kind, smart, understanding, and absolutely beautiful. When we started dating, he was a bit closed off and was afraid to initiate any form of intimacy. I at first thought it was because I was his first relationship, and maybe he was nervous. 6 months into US dating, he tells me that between the ages of 5 and 12, he was sexually assaulted and raped by his mother. His father left when he was around 4. It fucked him up in the head for a while, and when it got out, his mother was arrested, and he and his 2 older sisters were put in the custody of their grandparents, who they lived with ever since. He was placed in intensive therapy and still goes to this day. He's come a long way and has healed a lot, but he still has some days when he gets really depressed and cries. Part of his therapy was exercising, so about 2 years ago, he and I started doing some bodybuilding workouts. I toned up a lot, put 20 extra pounds of muscle on, and he toned up a bit. Because we've been dating for so long and have marriage in mind, he told my family, a less detailed version, and they welcomed him with love and support. Now for my sister, Sally. I've suspected she's had a bit of a crush on him. She'll flirt sometimes here and there, but he never reciprocated and usually ignored her. I've talked to her about it so many times, but she didn't listen. To make a long story short, I had gone out one Saturday afternoon with some friends to get some drinks and left Mark behind because he didn't feel like going. My sister had texted me prior to ask if she could borrow a few things from me, a sweatshirt, DSLR camera, and a third thing that doesn't come to mind at the moment. I said sure and to get it whenever. She went when I was out, unknowingly. When I came home, I found my boyfriend on the ground crying his eyes out, and my sister trying to calm him down. He was having a panic attack. It's never safe to touch him when he has an episode because he may act out violently due to his headspace. Her hands were all over him, and he was trying to push her away. Her shirt was also on the ground, and she was only in her bra. I tore her away and asked what the fuck she was doing. She said that she was trying on the sweatshirt when he walked in on her, freaked out, and went into an episode. However, Mark, through his tears, said she tried to touch him. I asked my sister if it was true, and she said no, but Mark again said she tried to touch him. We have cameras in the house, and I pointed it out to my sister. Her face went white, and I don't know what came over me, but I saw red. I can't remember much because I was so angry, but I beat the shit out of her. I can't even remember if I was the one who called 911 or her, though her beat-up state. I do remember kind of snapping out of it because Mark was still going through his episode and I could him cry louder and I had to help him through it. It's all a haze. I broke my sister's nose, gave her a black eye, and bruised her ribs. She was in the hospital for a few days. Update. A lot of people messaged me to ask about context from my last post. 1. This all happened right before COVID hit, the end of 2019, and everything was just settled this last month. 2. The incident happened in our kitchen. The front door leads down a hall directly to our open kitchen, and to the right is our living room that leads to the bedrooms. 3. We have cameras in every room but the bathrooms and bedrooms because we have a Great Dane named Butler. He's black and has a white oval patch from his chest to his tummy. He looks like a butler who likes to get into everything, so we set up cameras to keep an eye on him while we're out. The cameras don't have sound recording. 4. My sister didn't rape Mark, but she did try to coerce him into sexual activities. 5. My sister didn't know I was out when she came over. I don't have the recording anymore. It was too painful to keep, let alone watch. Also, my memory of the whole thing is hazy, but the tape showed Mark answering the door. Again, our cameras don't have sound recording, but Mark said that when he answered the door, she told him that she was there to get my camera and sweatshirt. He said okay and let her in. He was watching the television, so he went back to his show while she walked into our room. She called out to him for help, and the cameras showed Mark getting up to help her. I don't remember how long they were in there, but the tape showed Mark rush out of the room while holding his hands out as if trying to stop an attacker. My sister then emerged half naked while holding onto her shirt. Mark backed up into the kitchen. Still holding his hand out, she advanced towards him. Mark said he was telling her to put her shirt on and to leave, but she kept saying something along the lines of, "Hey, it's okay. I just need some help, that's all." And, "You're a nice guy. Just help me out a little." I think by that point he was declining into a panic attack as he started shaking. My sister took that opportunity to hug him. She said she did it to try and calm him down, but the tape showed her kind of grinding up on him. He pushed her away and fell to the ground crying and screaming. She then got down by him and was trying to wave her hands through his hair. Her other hand was also moving up towards his crotch. I remember from the tape seeing Mark flinch backwards and try to push her away. She always moved back closer to him. A few minutes later is when I got home and beat her to an inch of her life. I can't remember who called the police, but the police had showed up and my sister limped to the door. While I was trying to help Mark calm down, I kind of remember them asking questions and trying to help Mark calm down. They thought he was going into shock, so they put a blanket over him and the paramedics came. My sister was quickly evaluated and then brought to the hospital. Mark and I stayed behind because by that point, he had started to regain control again. I remember my parents showing up and asking what had happened. I told them everything. My mom stayed with Mark and I while my dad drove to the hospital to see my sister. Mark and I pressed charges on my sister, emotional trauma and sexual battery, Class A1 felony where I'm from. My sister tried to sue me, a misdemeanor charge, but it fell through. With the evidence we had, my sister was sentenced to 60 days of incarceration with a bond of $5,000. No one paid. She also has to serve 200 hours of community service, and her name was added to a sex offender registry. She can appeal to the courts to have it removed after 10 years. She was also placed under a restraining order. On top of that, my sister owes us $25,000. I got a small slap on the wrist and have to do 50 hours of community service. Nothing too bad. My sister was cut off some, the entire family, and still is. Mark regressed tremendously, to the point that he couldn't sleep in the same bed as me for months. He was required to go into even more extensive therapy. He's come a bit of ways, but nowhere like he was before it happened. It will take a long time for him to heal. I consider myself bisexual, but I lean more towards men, while Mark is $100 gay. He finds the female body disturbing, to the point that we have had to skip over full female nudity scenes in movies. My sister knew about this. When I asked her why she would do this, she said that she thought she could change his mind. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm also not sorry.